I thought what we'd do is we'd tell you the story of that and how that's come along and where we're going, and then you can ask us all the questions you like, and then we can take a wander around and you can see where kids are coming and give you a flavour for where we're up to and where this is cited and what sort of gives you an idea of what the extent of the problem is. So I think this came to our attention really through encountering many girls who have been sexually abused, and we got some data on that in Malawi. We started doing post-exposure prophylaxis for HIV about 5 or 6 years ago at this hospital, so giving out antiretroviral drugs to women and children who have been raped or sexually abused. And if you get them within 72 hours, you can stop that happening. So when we started that we were getting sort of about 5 or 6 children a month coming. And we now get about 25 children a month come. So I was on call not last weekend, the weekend before. I had 5 children over the weekend. The youngest one was 2.5. And the median age of our children are about 7. That's the average age of the children who come to our service. So from our point of view, from our perspective as providers of healthcare in Malawi, and in the city, we're the only hospital in Blantyre, we were seeing a lot, so that wore in our mind. There was a study in Malawi done about 5 years ago by DFID, British Overseas Development Agency, and they showed that at least 1 in 4 girls in Malawi report what they'd say forced or unwanted sexual intercourse by the age of 16. Definitions of rape vary, and it's difficult in this sort of self-reported to be sure say exactly what's going on, but it's a lot, basically. It's a lot of people. And I thought I'd tell you a story. That's probably the easiest thing. So here's a story that happened 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. Chikondi's not a real name, but a girl who presented to this hospital with meningitis. So she just came in with meningitis. That's bad enough. During her admission, we routinely test children for HIV. We found out she was HIV positive. And Mum said, actually, hang on a minute, that's strange because I'm HIV negative. So we thought, well, sometimes the tests are wrong. We tested everybody again. The child's definitely HIV positive, the mother's HIV negative. Father has been tested and he's HIV positive. Mum does not know father's status. We are not allowed to tell Mum's father's status because obviously of confidentiality issues. So we were left with a dilemma, and this is the sort of thing, this is a story that I could have told you 3 or 4 years ago as well. So I'm going to tell you part 1. This is what I'm doing to give you a taster for what the effect of this service has been on a child like Chikondi. We persuaded the mum to say, has there been any blood transfusions, any other ways that HIV can be transferred to the child? There hasn't been. So there's been no other stories. So we have to say to mum, look, almost certainly your child has contracted HIV because somebody has had sex with your daughter, but we don't know who it is. We were thinking, obviously, Dad is ringing loud bells in our head. It could well be Dad, but we can't say that to her. But all we can say is that somebody's had sex with your daughter. We need to examine her to make sure she hasn't got any other sexually transmitted infections, make sure she's well. And Mum agreed, and this with reluctance, but she agreed. And this little girl, when we agreed to examine her, we said, Johnny, we need to examine you down here. And she went, okay. Leapt on the bed and put her legs like this with us, just without us asking anything at all. Just leapt her legs wide like this. And on examination, the entire posterior hymen had gone, so the posterior part of the sheet of tissue which acts as sort of a guard in the vagina for younger children, the entire posterior shelf of that had disappeared. It's a typical, absolutely diagnostic signs of repeated penetration to this child with something, a finger or a penis or something, probably a penis. So it was clear, absolutely clear, that this girl had been repeatedly abused. And she didn't want to say anything to us about what had happened to her. So there's a story, okay? Come back to that. If you asked about that story 2 or 3 years ago, I'd have gone, right, I know this girl has been abused, and I have nobody to go and talk to. to about what's happening. So this was a story that I suppose was what we were encountering. Dominic will know that there was a lot more going on, but from our perspective here in the hospital, this is what we saw. We saw people coming to us through the police station sometimes with victim support officers. That's what VSU means. That's some specially trained policemen that had been trained by UNICEF and by other bodies.